Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a new project for you with my recently re-released Gifts from the Sea set, and I wanted to show you an idea for creating a simple underwater scene using two of the new images that I added to this, the seahorse and the seaweed. So this seaweed is going to be so helpful for creating underwater scenes. We're going to do a little bit of masking today along with sponging to create these little rays coming down through the water. I recommend that you maybe do some Googling to see some pictures online. Just Google underwater scene and you'll see how you have this huge kind of halo of white up here where the sun is coming in. So it's just kind of a three-quarter view where you're looking under the sea but also up, and it really gives you more of a sense of time and place than if you just made the whole scene blue. So really simple to do and very minimal supplies for this project. We're going to be using the Gifts from the Sea set. The cardstock that I'm using today, I've got the Gina K Pure Luxury Prickly Pear, the black Onyx, and then the white, and I will post these measurements below. You're going to need an acrylic block for your images. The pads that I'm using today, I've got the Gina K Blue Lagoon and the Blue Raspberry for the water. Going to be using some white for the bubbles, and the sand image is going to do double duty right there. And then we've got the the Tuxedo black and the Memento. And then for coloring today, we're just going to be using the Zig Clean color markers. I've got the Ochre, the Mid Green, and then the dark Oatmeal. Those are all the colors that we're going to need for creating this scene. And then I've got the Faber-Castell PITT Artist Pen in the white to just make some little ripples on the water. I would love to have my white gel pen as well to have some finer lines, but I couldn't find that when I was making this card. So I'm just going to make do with this white, and we'll just go over it a few more times and then be kind of careful with the tip. So let's begin by creating this scene. You're also going to need just a piece of masking paper. This is just some plain printer paper. You could also use Post-it notes, but they're longer than a Post-it note, so I find it easier to use something that's going to go all the way across the card. All right. Oh, and a sponge dauber. So hang on, let me get my sponge dauber. Here we go. Okay. So and here is that little sand image. I noticed it wasn't on the sheet, so I was panicking a little bit. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to put this right here so you can see where we're going. So we want to keep this area right here open and white. I'm going to start with the lighter ink, which is the Blue Lagoon. And you can do your stamping first, or you can do your stamping later. Let's go ahead and add actually the seaweed now. I did not cover them up. I feel like, since the water is surrounding it, it's okay to have the blue go over that. But if you want to mask those off, you can, or just be careful when you're going around it. But I thought it really blended nicely with the blue. All right, so we're going to first do the seaweed. And you can have them going at slightly different directions, but having them be approximately the same is going to look like there's a current and they're all waving in the same direction. So we've got one here. I'm going to move this down a little bit. So we've got one here. Oh, and I didn't get the side of that. There we go. Have a tiny bit here for the seahorse to hang on to. Gosh, I'm just not getting that whole block. And turn it this way. Okay. And then finally this one up here. Okay. So we have some scenery here. Then we're going to do our seahorse. And I'm just going to pop the tail right on as if he's clinging to the top of that. Okay? All right, now let's do our sponging, or you can color next if you want. It really doesn't matter. But you do want to wait and put the bubbles on last. So that's important. And I'm going to put my greeting on last just so that it's nice and crisp, doesn't get blended with my sponging. Okay, so we're going to start with this lighter ink. And we're going to be keeping that top section open, kind of like an oval section. And there's going to be more color down at the bottom. And then we're going to add that darkest blue raspberry at the bottom. Okay, so you kind of just lay down a base to know where your colors are going. Now we're going to take our masking sheet of paper, and we're going to have the little rays all coming out, radiating out. So you want to go kind of light on these because you don't want to fill in the white area too much. And you're just suggesting these lines. So you see you're just kind of opening it up a little bit each time. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. And then after you do your rays, then you're going to just fill in where you want it to be a little bit darker, just to kind of blend all that. Okay, so now we're going to go over it just real softly. And then I want to put just a little bit in here just to make this a little softer so you don't see the edges as much of those rays. And don't want to cover it up too much because then you're not getting the white. Now I'm going to take my white pen and I'm going to go back in and I'm going to create just these little dashes, and I'm going to have to go over it a couple times just because the ink is really dark and blue. But I'm just making just little ripples or like a little halo going around that widest area. And then you can also take the pen and you can go in over the edge of your sponging there, and that's going to blend that out. Just so you don't see the sponging as much around the edge. And I'm going to go back because again, the white's not popping yet. You kind of have to layer it on this darker blue. Okay, now I'm going to add the blue raspberry. So down at the bottom where it's going to be the darkest. And you can spend more time if you want, but it's really going to come together when we do our coloring. Okay. All right, so just some simple coloring on these now. We're going to use the mid green for the kelp, and so today I'm not using a watercolor brush or anything. I'm just going in and just doing just some quick brush strokes over the kelp. And then we're going to add in that brown to give it more texture. And on that, I'm just going to go on the undersides and then trace over just those little scratchy lines that are giving it those ridges and texture. And you can Google seahorse and seaweed for some of the different colors, and they range kind of anywhere from a yellow to a green to an orange to a brown. And there are some really pretty little seahorses, some that are more colorful than others. Okay, so now we've got our green down, and then I'm going to take some of this brown and I'm just going to brush that in to the bottoms of the leaves, just following those little brush strokes. And then you see the dark parts of the illustration, those need to be brown as well because this is casting a shadow onto the leaf behind it. And if you wanted to add more dimension to this card, you could pop up the seahorse, but what I would probably do is I would pop up maybe just one of these leaves so that those are in the foreground and then the seahorse is a little further back. Just a little bit here, but see how much that adds just having just a few strokes of the brown so it's not flat. Okay, now we'll do our little seahorse. So I have this ochre color, and this is a really nice match for that prickly pear cardstock. So I wanted him to be a little bit different color than the seaweed. And then we're going to use that same brown to do some shading, but also just give him some little speckles. And again, I'm just using the little dots in the illustration to show me where I want to put those. Takes such a light touch with this brush tip, so nice. Okay, so we'll use our brown here now. So I'm just going to put just a little bit at the base of that little fin on the back, and then just brush in just a tiny bit wherever you see those little dots and lines. Then I'm going to put it on the underside of his tail there. Put a little bit down here, under his neck here, and underneath his little mouth or beak, and touch some onto these little knobs and fins. It's like a little dragon. And then I'm just going to dot in some darker brown just over these little dots. Okay, and that's it for the coloring. So let's go back now. This is dried a little bit more. See, I'm going to add the white, and you can see that's coming out more than it did before. Okay, and then we're going to add our greeting. So I use the Blessed to Have a greeting, and this is a new one that I was able to add to the set. So we're going to do this in the black, and I'm going to put it up here just above, so you're really kind of having that highlight in the water, highlighting the greeting. And then you have all these different relationships: friend, mom, dad, son. I'll do son on this one. I had friend before. I think I'll give this to one of my boys. So you could pop this in with a different color, like two-step stamping if you want, but I changed the font so that you can really emphasize that word, blessed to have a son like you. Now the last touch that we want to do on this, and this one I think is really important, again, it's all in the details that really make your card special. We're going to use this little texture stamp to create some bubbles, and you'll see these in the photos online as well, that there's bubbles coming up around the seahorse, around the other creatures below. So you're going to stamp these over, and see that? So it's so tiny, but it adds so much. You just want to kind of roll it because you don't want it to come out in squares, but just a few around over the color so that you can see them. And that's it. And then we will adhere this to our mat and our card base. So we need some adhesive. I forgot to say that. So just center that. And then I'm going to be real careful and make sure this isn't going outside, but I don't want to put it on the back of that just because my white is still a tiny bit wet. And if you want to add some bling to this card, I don't think I will since it's for my son, but you might want to take some little adhesive rhinestones and just pop those up on top just for some silvery shimmery bubbles, or maybe use some of the liquid pearls. And it's done. Very simple card to create. So I hope you enjoy this technique, and we'll try it out yourself. Very easy to do, and this Gifts from the Sea set is a really versatile set from Gina K Designs. Great all year round just for making nature and masculine cards. I just love all these images and these greetings. Thank you for watching today. Please visit us at Gina K Designs and Stamp TV, and visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more ideas and inspiration using all of our products from Gina K Designs. Thank you for watching today. God bless.